Nik Vujičić je ponovo u Srbiji. Samo 4 godine od intervjua u kojem je ekipa TV lica provela sa njim ceo dan u Beogradu i Novom Sadu, Nik može da se pohvali lepim vestima u životu. Naime, postao je otac 2 dečaka, a gotovo cela planeta slušala je njegove motivacione govore uživo i posredstvom medija. Nik Vujičić je govornik koji svojim nastupima pruža nadu, motiviše i govori da je život tačno onakav kakvim ga mi sami stvorimo. A naš ponovni susret počeo je uoči predavanja o vršnjačkom nasilju kome su prisustvovali učenici. Ovako je izgledalo, a sve je naravno počelo susretom sa brojnim novinarima, kao i uvek, zainteresovanim za sve što Nik radi.
I'm very, very thankful that I'm here for the 3rd time in Serbia, and this is definitely not the last time. I'm already looking forward to coming back to Serbia next year, and then ako Bog da, in 2018, I want to come with my wife and my 2 boys. Moja žena, her name is Kanae. She's half Japanese, half Mexican, Japsican, and we have 2 sons. Jedan sin Kiyoshi i drugi Dejan, srpskom Dejan. And in my life, you know, I definitely, as I look at my children, I want to do the best for my children. And as I look at my children, I look at my dad as well. My dad, unfortunately, mami tata puno brazavli, my dad actually has cancer. And when you look at a man who has cancer, you understand that the body is weak. But if the spirit is strong, then you are strong. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Dobro jutro! Dobro govorite srpski?
Ne. Ja razumem, ali ne uopšte govorim.
Drago mi je što smo se upoznali.
Nice to meet you.
Dobrodošli u Beograd.
Hvala puno.
Da li je zagrljaj dobar početak ovog intervjua?
Yes, give me a hug.
Okay, hello. Stvarno mi je drago.
I love hugs. You know, I think there's a special connection, you know, when people hug and be real with each other. And obviously I don't shake hands as well. And so it's a great way just to break the ice, you know, when people don't know exactly how to say hi, so yeah.
Možemo da se zagrlimo ponovo ako želite. I druga strana.
U Srbiji mi radimo 3 put.
Ok, u redu, 3 put.
Love you.
Znate, vi ste heroj u Srbiji. Kao recimo Novak Đoković.
That's a big sentence. I don't want to be seen as a superhero. I just want people to know that I'm just like them. I go through ups and downs. Novak goes through ups and downs, and we look up at him in so many ways, and he's a great, great example. And I just hope that people from my life, they see that you can have love, joy, and peace in your life, even when circumstances are not so good.
Možete li da kažete nešto o prijateljstvu sa Novakom? To je nešto novo?
Yeah, we met in Florida this year, and I went to one of his matches, and we arranged that we would meet each other backstage 45 minutes after his game. And we talked about Serbia, we talked about, you know, our stories a little bit. And of course, I was watching him, you know, on playing tennis over the years. And he also let me know that he was watching me for a couple of years on YouTube. So, you know, we have a mutual admiration. And, you know, what I loved is how we can collaborate in really trying to make a difference here in Serbia, especially in the next generation, to really believe in the future of Serbia.
U redu, bio je ovo početak jer smo imali samo 5 minuta, ali bit ćemo zajedno ceo dan danas u Beogradu i sutra ćemo biti sa vama u Novom Sadu i bit će još prilike za priču.
Molim te, ne pričam jako dobro, ne govorim dobro srpsku, ali ja naučim jako brzo i hoćem da dolazim mnogo puta da naučim još srpski. Ja sam zaboravio mnogo srpsko. Mami i tata, mi nismo naučili od mami i tata, ali ja setim još kad ja dolazim nazad u Srbiju. Ja sam bio ovde prvi put u godina 2008. Doesn't matter, my grammar's terrible. I, as a Serbian, am I first generation or second generation? Like, how do you officially say who I am? I don't even know.
Born in the West.
I'm born in the West, but is that first generation Australian or Serbian?
Fully Australian, yes.
Fully Australian, yes, I know. I'm citizen, but... See my foot? Ovaj mali noga ovde, na levu stranu. Imam dve prst i ja možem da radim na kompjuter i svi. Ja vozim ovaj kolica gde idem. Ja možem da plivam, ja možem da radim puno stvari. Ali, every time, sometimes as a kid, I look at other children and I'm like, oh, I can't ride a bike. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Danas u moj sobu ja imam cipale. Ako neki dan Bog kaže da, ajde. Ako on ne kaže ajde, you know what? If he doesn't give me arms and legs, he's already given me the greatest miracle of all. Thank you, Your Royal Highness, for having me here, Your Excellency, and I thank you for letting me share this much. God bless you.
Shvatila kroz Nikov govor je da uopšte ne barata dobro tom pričom koja je generacija Srba iseljenika. Zato tate uvek postoje da ispričaju priču o tome kako je porodica otišla i kako se snašla. Dakle, ko je prvi otišao iz porodice u Australiju?
Prvo su, od moje strane su, moja dva brata u stvari su prvo otišla. Oni su bili tamo 69. godine, a mi smo onda 70. godine emigrirali u Australiju iz Austrije. Supruga, njena familija je naravno bila daleko pre toga. Oni su 64. godine već emigrirali iz Australije.
A odakle ste rodom, Boris, vi?
Ja sam iz Banata, u Jasenovu sam rođen.
To se malo i čuje, kad pričate, još uvijek malo pevate.
Jel ne?
Banatski, jeste. A Duška odakle?
Ona je iz Srema, Košida, iz Bašice rodom.
I kako ste se upoznali u Australiji?
Mi smo se upoznali u crkvi koje smo zajedno posećivali i koje smo pripadali i tu smo se upoznali, onda smo naravno se uzeli. Ona je bila studentkinja još uvijek tada, učila je za medicinsku sestru, bila otprilike kroz pola svog obrazovanja i naravno kasnije onda završila to i posle toga je nastavila za babicu.
Imate još dvoje dece?
Da. Nama je bilo strah da se opet probamo, ali gledali smo da njemu treba pomoć i tako smo odlučili da imamo drugo dete.
Ovo je ćerka, jel te?
To je naša ćerka, da. Michelle. I ovo nam je drugi sin bio Aaron i ovo nam je snaja Michelle isto. Tako da imamo dve Michelle u familiji. A svakako da je Aaron se ima i samo, kao što je Aaron bio Mojsiju pomoćnik na taj način, dosta inspirisani smo bili time, da isto mu bude pomoćnik Niku.
Lepa beba, tako je sam sebi iskomentarisao. Učili ste Nika sve od početka, on sam može da se obuče, brine o sebi, ima različite tehnike o tome kako navlači majicu, košulje bez dugmedi, jer to su bile neke prepreke. Nešto što u normalnom životu predstavlja uobičajenu radnju svakog jutra. Vi ste morali da izmišljate trikove kako da olakšate.
Jeste u svemu i naravno Duška kao majka je u mnogo čemu tome pomogla i da nešto sašije i oblačiti
I pranje zube je bilo specijalan način.
Da.
I za pisanje bila je kao plastika koja se formirala koja u toploj vodi bude omekšena i onda se stvrdne kada se ohladi. Tako na taj način smo mogli formirati na njegovoj nozi koliko mu odgovaralo i onda on je na to mogao samo zavući, a tu smo napravili naravno rupu gdje smo mogli staviti penkala i tako dalje koja je on felt pen, ne znam kako mi kažemo tačno to, i onda je mogao da sa tim crta da piše i koristi u školi. Makaze mu je isto Duška napravila gde jedan deo je urezan bio u drvetu, a drugi je mogao samo tako da pretisne, tako da papir kad gurne sa nogom je stavio, onda mogao pretisnuti i da sam seće i hteli smo što više da bude samostalno. U mnogo čemu tome nekada se smatralo ili gledalo se što me ne pomogne, bilo bi lakše da mi to uradimo nego da se on muči. Tako su neki gledali, tako da majka u jednom slučaju nekada su neki smatrali, čak i njena mama možda je smatrala nju kao grubom i kao neljubaznom prema sinu. Trebaš malo više da mu pomogneš, jer u drugu ruku ne htjela da mu da što više samostalnosti.
Kad vam se neki ljudi žale oko besmislenih problema, da ne mogu da izdrže život, a ne znaju da ste nikovi roditelji, šta vam dođe da im kažete?
Mogu reći da u jednu ruku da mi lično sam jako gledam, isto verujem da u mnogo čemu imam mnogo lakše život nego što on ima. I on mi isto primjer i mogu mu se diviti i ono što on kaže i kako živi i to u poređenju. Sam lično mogu reći da ni ja, da ja sam možda ne bi mogao biti to što je on, da sam u njegove situaciji.
Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to meet you and shake your hand. Everybody else, it's such an honor. Thank you so much all for coming. I'm going to be giving you maybe a couple key points. I don't know if you're taking notes or if you're planning on taking notes. I'm going to give you 7 points that you can walk away with today, because you can go to any lecture, go back home, and people can say, well, how was it? You're like, dude, what did he say? So ako hoćeš radi, ako ne hoćeš, no worries. Let me ask you a really cool question. Do you think I'm cool enough to be your friend? Would you like to be friends? Am I good enough? Yeah. Okay. Don't worry about it. So here it is. Cool. But I have no arms, no legs. So it doesn't matter, right?
You don't care.
So you're telling me 100%, I know I'm asking you a very easy question, and there is a very easy answer. You just said the answer, but listen very carefully. You know that 100% in your mind, with no reservations, that I am good enough to be your friend, even though I have no arms and no legs. You know that it actually doesn't matter. If it actually doesn't matter for how we look, then why do you continually put yourself down for how you look? If it actually doesn't matter for how we look, then why do we point at each other and gossip to each other and make it such a big deal if it actually means nothing? Girls, you don't need to be tall and short and this, that. Guys, you don't need to be more athletic. I want you to know that who you are is who you are, and there is not another you, there is not another me, and it's okay for me not to be like somebody else, because I am who I am and you are who you are. But the value of who you are goes further than this. It's not just about how you look or how smart you are. I went to Mom and Dad and said, Mom and Dad, I know what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I tata kaže, dobro, završi školu prvo. Pravo srpski, znaš. Možeš ti ideš u školu, ajde, šta radiš? Kako da ne, right? I want to be a speaker. She said, really? What are you going to speak about? Ne znam ja. Sometimes you fall down, and I know maybe you've seen it, I won't take long, but it looks impossible for a man without arms and legs to get back up.
Da li ste umorni?
No, not today. We just drove from Belgrade to Novi Sad, but I feel really good this morning.
Ali bilo je teško juče u Beogradu. Mnogo ljudi, Sava centar, velika gužva.
It was fun. It was fun. The whole day was packed with media events and meeting very many people, a lot of people. And it's just great to see everybody's response last night. I really felt loved and accepted, and I think people were touched last night.
Pročitala sam vašu knjigu. Divna je, lepa i poetična. Voljela bih da razgovaramo o pričama iz nje. Možete li da nam ispričate nešto o vašem rođenju?
Well, my mom and dad did not know that I was going to be born this way until I actually was born. And the doctors don't know why I came out with no arms, no legs. My brother and my sister were born after me. They have arms and legs. And so as a child, I was wondering why, and no one had any answers. But it took my mum about 4 months to actually come to terms with it and have peace and say, okay, I'm going to do my best and trust God in the rest. My dad took a lead. You know, that morning when she gave birth to me, she was just in shock. She couldn't hold me. And my dad went to go see me in the incubator, and he came back and said, he's beautiful. So my dad took a lead, and so just, I have wonderful parents who always gave me comfort and strength, as best as they could.
Upoznali ste Daniela Martineza, dečaka koji liči na vas kada ste bili mali. Ispričajte nam ponešto i o tom susretu.
It was amazing. When I was a little boy, I really was disabled on the inside with fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of what people think of me, and the fear of never having a purpose or a good life. And, I prayed that I would meet somebody like me because that would help me. And I never did until I was age 24. And when I looked at this boy, he had no arms, no legs, met him in Southern California. And it was just so touching. And I got the father to bring him up on stage in front of a couple thousand people. And he was so cute, on je bio jako mali. He was sitting down on the table next to me, looking up at me, and I'm looking down at him. And he had no limbs, but he had a little foot like mine. Really? And it was so beautiful. And I looked at this boy, and I knew the pain that he was going to go through. I knew he was going to be teased at school and feeling alone at times. But now he knows that he has Uncle Nik, Čika Niki, Oteče Niki, ne znam kako.
Čika Niki.
Čika, da. And he knows he's not alone. And when he gets teased or when he feels like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, at least he has someone now to say, you know what, if Nik can do it, then I certainly can. So it was so touching for me. And the message in that is, we all want miracles. We all want hope. And I wanted a miracle. But I realized that when I don't get a miracle, God lets me be a miracle for someone else.
Koliko on sada ima godine?
He's now 6 years old. Yeah, I just went to his school. It was so cute. He was getting teased at school, so I went to the school to speak to them all, and now he's the coolest kid on the block. And since 24, I've actually now met, in the last 6 years, about 18 people with no arms and no legs. And it's just been amazing to see how my parents have encouraged the parents of these kids as well.
Kakvo je bilo vaše detinjstvo? Možda bi bilo lepo da nam ispričate onu priču o malom stopalu, sestri i psu. To mi je bilo veoma zabavno.
Right. You know, and you know, we were kids, you know, and kad mi smo bio deca, you know, it was just funny how our humor was. And, you know, in the car, sometimes, you know, we'd pretend that we're really hungry, and my sister looks at my foot and says, it's a chicken drumstick, you know, and then sometimes my dog would sometimes, you know, bite my foot, and I would have to, you know, hit him in the face a little. But, you know, I actually had a nickname when I was a teenager, say, this is my little chicken drumstick. So it was really, really funny sometimes, just, you know, how our siblings really joked with each other. And, you know, we still, you know, like any siblings, we fought sometimes. And we loved playing wrestling, you know, playing video games and all these sort of things. And so I have an amazing family. My brother, in fact, Aaron, he was helping me a lot. You know, he's only 2.5 years younger than me. And so as I was growing up, Aaron would sort of help me a lot, sort of more like a caregiver. You know, if I need something, a glass of water or this or that, or even a shower as a teenager, he really had a heart to help. And he's so beautiful. And my sister, you know, we all get along.
U knjizi postoji jedan veoma potresan deo o samoubistvu. Da li vam je teško da govorite o tome?
Today, no. But I actually did not tell my parents about it until I was 21. I didn't want them to feel like, oh my gosh, like, what, our son tried to commit suicide and we didn't even know. I didn't want them to feel guilt or regret that they couldn't do more. So I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable because that was a very deep secret. And I started actually speaking about it when I was 21 because more interviews were coming. So, you know, they say, so, tell me about your depression. And one day I just said it, and I tried to commit suicide, and I didn't realize that it even came out, you know, and I was so careful to keep it a secret. But I wanted to share my heart because there are many of us who think of giving up, and some of us who've also tried it. I want people to know that I'm just like them. You know, I'm not a superhero. I don't have a different DNA. We all have ups and downs. We all have fears and shame and just feeling like there's no hope. And so when I told my mum this, they were in shock. But it was hard, you know, as a child, not feeling like I had anything to look forward to, not getting married, not having a job, not having a family, being burdened to my parents, you know, they always need to help me. You know, is my brother now going to have to be responsible for me when mum and dad die? I was thinking of all these things when I was age 8. And I looked at my life and what am I here for, you know? And no one's going to love me. And all this bullying and teasing at school really put me down. I had a couple good friends, but it was just difficult to get away from the unwanted attention. Not just in the school grounds, but in any public place. People would look at me, call me names, and they would ask me, why was I born this way? And, you know, I didn't know how to deal with it. Sometimes I dealt with it with humor and say cigarettes, you know, with all the kids. And, you know, just trying to work out different ways to cope with it.
Pokušali ste to da uradite ili ste razmišljali?
No, I thought of it at age 8, and then at age 10 I tried. In 15 centimeters of water in my bathtub, after a long, hard day at school of being teased, I was on the kitchen counter watching my mum cook. And I love watching her cook. I used to watch her cook nearly every day from what I remember. And just sitting there, and it was just therapeutic and just being with mum, you know? And I was thinking, I'm gonna just jump off the ledge. If I can just jump off the kitchen counter, snap my neck, then I'll die. But I heard of a woman called Johnny Erickson Tata, and she actually was 19 and she jumped into a lake and snapped her neck but didn't die. She's a quadriplegic. So I'm like, well, I want to make sure that if I do it, that I die. I don't want to, you know, be disabled or people say, you know, why did you jump off? You know, I don't want to share that. So I thought, you know, I can just tell my dad that I want to relax in the bathtub and then I'll drown. So that's what I did. So I went into the bathtub and I turned over the first 2 times. And it's very scary trying to take your own life. Because once you've done it, it's finished. And the 3rd time I rolled over, trying to work out how much air I hold in my lungs before the water comes in. The 3rd time I rolled over, in my mind, I thank God that I saw a picture of my mum and my dad and my brother crying at my grave. I realized at that very moment that yes, I was a burden to my parents maybe in my own mind, but it was going to be a greater pain if I actually gave up. And they would be left with a hole in their soul that no one could fill. So I decided to stay. And I tell people today, you don't know what God can do with your broken pieces until you give him your broken pieces.
Vi ste heroj. Vi možda ne mislite, ali ja sam sigurna. Rođeni ste u Australiji, onda ste se preselili u Sjedinjene Američke Države. To je bila velika promena. Kako je to izgledalo? Kako je uticalo na vas?
For 2 years, I was living in Los Angeles and I didn't feel settled. I don't know, am I supposed to be here? You know, I knew in 2005, I already spoke 250 to 300 times in Australia when I was probably about 23, 24. And that's when I felt God saying, you know what, you might need to go to America. If, you know, you want to reach the world, Australia is so far from everybody. You know, even if you're famous in Australia, you're not really famous anywhere else. You know, that's just how it is. And so I moved, you know, slowly coming out 10 weeks at a time. And then by 2006, I already spoke 500 times. And that's when I'm like, you know what, this is where I need to be. And I started a non-profit organization, which is called Life Without Limbs, which enables me to go around the world, especially in places where they can't afford a fee, you know, for me to share about my story. And that's what we mainly do. And I just started speaking, you know, invitations were coming in. And from Los Angeles, YouTube, you know, really took off. I had a DVD that I produced when I was 22, 23 years old. And some guy in India who I've never met, who I can't contact, he actually took off my DVD, like 3 or 4 minute segment, and put it on YouTube. And I didn't know about it until he had 14 million hits. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I was like, wow, you know, so many people being touched. And the concept with the new technology coming in, I mean, there was no YouTube 7 years ago, whatever, maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And now, even while I sleep, people are being touched by my story. And I just was fascinated, you know? And that's why I love writing books. That's why I love doing movies or music videos or something else that doesn't, you know, need me there to really touch lives. And the letters and the emails that have come in over the years are just so touching. You know, when I still have down days, I go back to those letters. And I see, you know what, if only one person writes to me and says, you know what, I was ready to commit suicide. I even tried to commit suicide. But after hearing your story, I will never think of giving up again.
Vi imate loše dane.
Yes.
Ne mogu da verujem. To je istina.
I'm telling you, I'm not a hero. I have bad days, because heroes don't have bad days, right? For me, everyone has a bad day, right? In my life, in 2010, I had a couple years in developing the nonprofit organization. I tried to get ahead in trying to bring up fundraising people to bring in more money that we can go reach more people. They couldn't do it. So I thought to myself, I know how to make money. I'm a businessman. So I started too many things at the same time. And I stretched myself too far, physically, emotionally, mentally, and then financially. And I am an accountant, right, by education. So I did my cash flow projection. And DVD sales dropped. People who owed me money still owed me money. People who owed me money from next year's events didn't pay me at that time. So I had a hole financially, and I had to cancel 17 projects that I started. I'm not kidding you, I hired 6 people at the same time to start 17 projects. And I could do it as long as the money was there. Mentally I could do it, emotionally I could do it. But when the money's not there, like, what happened? You know, like, why didn't anybody tell me, right? So I had a difference in staff at that time on my for-profit organization where I could make some money and donate to my nonprofit and go reach the world. It was hard. It was hard. I lost all my self-confidence in making decisions, you know? And at that time, I was dating my wife 3-4 months into our relationship. You know, I want to be strong. I want to be the provider. And I'm crying for 2 weeks on the floor. I couldn't eat. She had to force feed me. If I slept at night, I would wake up in the morning And as I'm waking up, I'm half asleep and my heart's in a panic attack. I never wanted to be a burden to my parents anymore. So at this time, my parents already booked the tickets to move from Australia to America. Their visa was dependent on this company now who had no money. And I looked at my wife and I said, I'm broke. I have no money. I miscalculated things. People owed me money, DVD sale. She said, that's okay. She looked me in the eye, she said, I love you. You know, you don't know who will marry you for your money until you have no money. You don't know the depth of someone's love until you go through a very deep valley and you feel helpless and hopeless, but they still love you. That's exactly what happened with me. She was amazing. She said, I will get a nursing job and support us both. She was studying nursing and she was saying, no worries, don't worry about it. And that just gave me a peace and comfort. Wow, what a woman. So when my parents came to move in America, I said, Mom and Dad, I need money. And that tapped into my depression. I needed a loan from them until people paid me. I had a hole. And I never wanted to be a burden to my parents. And now at 28, I had to ask my parents for money. It was so hard. I wanted to buy my mom a car. You know, I want my mom and dad to live in America, to stay in America. Hey, here's a car, you know, to help transition. No way. It was so difficult. So in my next book, that's what I share. I share about how I got through that, what I learned through that, and then second of all, how my wife and I met. So you're gonna love that book too.
Možete li da mi kažete nešto o tome kako ste se sreli?
And I spoke at a very small speaking engagement, only 16 people, and that's where we met. We laid eyes on each other, and I just felt a connection, you know? And I met her former boss, and that's how we met. So her boss was coming, and she brought my wife. My wife was here and there looking after her kids as a nanny, and that's how we met. And just we were all dressed up. You know, I had a suit on, and she had a beautiful dress on, and it was incredible. You know, we had a connection. We didn't stay in contact with each other. No, there was a complication. I didn't know she had a boyfriend.
Oh gosh.
Right? And her boss wanted actually not to hook me up with my wife. Her boss wanted to hook me up with my wife's sister. So there was a bit of a miscommunication.
Zvuči kao scenario za sapunsku operu.
It's a big soap opera. So 3 or 4 months we weren't in contact. Then we saw each other again. I found out that she had a boyfriend. And I'm like, how can she look at me? Like, you know, like we were in love. You know, I just felt a connection. I could have asked my friend, hey, give me my, you know, Kanae's email. But I didn't want to get into it. I said, God, if that's my wife, you do it. I don't even need to be in contact with her directly. I didn't know if she had that feeling. I looked her in the eyes and I felt fireworks, but I didn't know for sure if she saw what I saw. So then in July, so we met in April 2010. July 2010, we saw each other. I found out she had a boyfriend, and I was mean. I was never mean to any girl like I was mean to my wife. I'm thinking, so you have a boyfriend? I asked her, so you have a boyfriend? Ovako. She said, yeah. I said, koliko dugo si imala boyfriend? And she said, 12 months. And I'm like, what? Like what? And then I found out her sister was giving me coffee and she was speaking to me a lot. And I'm like, čekaj, what happened here? And so we found out the miscommunication. We weren't in contact still. I went back to Dallas, Texas, where we met. And the third time we met, I looked her in the eyes, and we both had the connection. So Zavisha with a boyfriend, and the sister was saying, sorry about the miscommunication. I told her, sorry about the miscommunication. We were all good. She was the maid of honor in our wedding, so we have a really good friendship, and everything's wonderful with her sister. But, you know, you can't help, you know, when you have a connection, you have a connection. If you don't have a connection, you don't have a connection. But God's will was done, and it was a beautiful story.
A gde je bilo venčanje?
We got married in Southern California, Rancho Palos Verdes. There right in front of the ocean. It was so beautiful.
Divna priča.
Yeah. And you know what? When I was a kid, I actually My mom has a younger brother, very, very young brother. And he was getting married when I was 6 years old. And I was holding back the tears because at the wedding I realized, look how he holds her hand. I can't do that. I was 6 years old. You know, I can't even dance with my bride. You know, and when we got married, we danced.
Really?
Yeah, and we have different ways in how we hold each other's hands. She puts a hand on my shoulder or my foot. She sits on my wheelchair and we go together. Like, it's amazing, you know. I want people to know that even the worst parts of our life and the worries that we have, there are some beautiful things that come out of that.
Kako romantična priča. Pa, juče ste rekli, danas u mojoj sobi imam cipele. Verujete u čuda. Da li je to život bez ograničenja?
Look, for me, knowing who God is, everything is possible. But not everything that is possible will happen. I know that for sure. You know, my friend, his name Gary, and he has Down syndrome. He's 26 years old. And listen to this story. He heard a conversation of people saying, oh, yes, it's true. This family just had a kid and now this kid's gonna have Down syndrome. And Gary with Down syndrome said, that's great. And they said, what? He said, that's great. He said, what do you mean that's great? He said, Down syndrome is the best thing. He said, what's Down syndrome to you? Well, you just love everybody and you never ever hurt anybody. We can learn from everyone. We really can. And so that's what I love, that God never makes a mistake. It's hard, but we're all going to go to heaven. New bodies, new minds. We're going to live forever. That's where my hope is. I'm not going to die. What greater thing is that? Nothing. He's with me. Imam ja sve.
Sve.
Hvala Bogu.
Taj dečak u vama zna da se zabavi, putujete, glumite u filmovima. Šta je to još što želite?
Wow, that's a good question. I really have some dreams in my heart one day, and just to reach more people is the ultimate goal. I want to be in any way packaging a message of hope, a message of love, a message of truth. And so whether it's acting or this or that, I've had some other acting opportunities and the perfect one hasn't come along yet. For me, I might have a talk show one day on TV. We don't know. So we just take one day at a time. Ali, znaš šta ja hoćem da radim? Next year, I'm going to actually record my first music album. So, hoćem da radim to. Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, thank you. So, malo sam nervous now, Ali. I got a lot of emails and comments on my music video. We have 2 million hits in 1 year on YouTube, and that's what I want. And if you read through the comments, you know, it'll touch your heart.
You're expecting a baby? Sada očekujete I bebe. Čestitam. Kako se osjećate? Biće to devojčica ili dečak?
Yeah, baby boy. My mother's father died of cancer when she was 18 years old, and so we named him after her father, and so his name was Kiyoshi. Yeah, my wife is half Mexican, half Japanese, but born and raised in Mexico. And so she cooks really good food and, you know, just a wonderful woman of God. But we actually were not planning on having kids until maybe a couple of years. And that's why we planned on doing a 25-country world tour next year. And within 3 months of being married, oops, we're pregnant. Ali, Bog zna šta radi. You know, he knows exactly what's going on. And so at first we were shocked. And we couldn't believe it. Still today, I just called her and we still can't believe we're pregnant. And she's feeling him kick around. In fact, the first time he kicked was when we were watching Novak Djokovic play tennis. And we were screaming. And so for me, it's amazing. You know, life. I can't believe I'm a father. I don't think that you know, any parents are ready for their first kid. You know, like, what? I'm going to be a parent? Wow. And that's how I feel. That's how she feels. But we know with God, we're going to do our best. And you know, I think we'll be great parents. And he's got 10 fingers and 10 toes. So hvala Bogu za to. If he didn't have that, of course we'd love him and raise him up just the same. Ali doktora u Los Angeles, they were all, you know, asking, well, how come you didn't do the test to know if your baby's Down syndrome or not? Ne moramo to. You know, ako Bog da što on da.
Volit ćete.
Yep, we love him no matter what.
Kiyoshi Vujičić. Kakva kombinacija. Ko će to da izgovori? Kiyoshi Vujičić.
You can't, it's amazing. Maybe one of the first Japanese Vujičićes, yeah.
I want you to know that I used to be worried about how I'm going to hold my children when they cry. My firstborn son, Kiyoshi, he's now 3 years old, and he's beautiful. And he gives me high fives on my shoulder, sometimes high fives on my face, and he's very cute. And when Kiyoshi cries, he comes up to me and he hugs me. And I put my neck around him, but he holds me tight. I want you to understand that your decision to never give up is the most important decision of your life.
Od kad se nismo videli, postao si otac 2 dečaka. Kako je to promenilo tvoj život?
Becoming a father is the best experience I've ever had in my life. It's a beautiful 360 full circle just experience in knowing that, you know, you feel that you are ready to get married as much as you can be ready, and you get married. But ready or not, here the kids come, and you know you're not ready, and you know it's experience from your previous experience with your father, things that you know about life, and you're just going to do your best, and you know you're not going to be perfect, but you need to try your best. And so it's a beautiful journey, and the wonderful thing about children is that they're quick to forgive. But really the biggest thing is I want to honor them, I want to respect them, and I know that they'll be respecting us. And it's difficult when you're a teenager, you know, parenting, that becomes more tricky. But, you know, we're just embracing now and being thankful for now, and we can only do our best. And really, I think lead by example is the biggest thing of parenthood.
Nik Vujičić je obećao da će doći sa porodicom, sinovima i suprugom, da im pokaže zemlju njegovih predaka, zemlju u kojoj su odrasli njegovi otac i majka. A Nik ostvari uvek ono što naumi, jer je u ovim godinama iza nas pokazao da za njega ne postoje prepreke.